I hope your day is going amazing. And if it's not, I don't care what time of day it is. It can be 11:45 p.m. Make the last 15 minutes of your day amazing, okay? All right. So today we're talking about triggers. Yes. Triggers, triggers, triggers. So, have you ever had that time where someone just said or done something to you that just blew you all the way back? Like you was ready to probably fight. You probably said so quick, like who you talking to, whatever. Yes, you have, because who hasn't? We all have triggers. Triggers can be situations, they can be locations, words, and people that can remind us of the past pain or, current heartache. Which is why it's important that we know what our triggers are. It's important that we're able to identify them so we are aware of how we're going to possibly react. Mm-hmm. So, when I was 17 years old, we got a call stating that my grandmother had 24 to 48 hours to live. Who wants to hear that? Because if anybody knows or know me, they knew my grandmother was my girl. That was my heart. She was my mom, okay? So, of course, we traveled to Georgia as quickly as possible. I think we got down there in like 7 hours, which probably should have took us like 9, 10. But as soon as we got down there, it was so many of my family members in the room with her. It's kind of like talking and rubbing her because she was unconscious. So, we get in there. Like my uncle, my mom, all they started talking to her. So it was my turn, and I truly felt like it was almost like a soulful moment because I'm just looking like that's not my big mama, not my granny, and I just didn't know how. Like I didn't know how to react. They're like, "Laura, talk to her," and I'm just like, I'm just kind of stuck. So I just began to like speak to her, rub her hand, just like, "Hey, Granny, it's me, it's Laura." Um, and next thing I know, my granny eyes just like begin to open, and I'm just like, "Okay, like we're good, right? We're good, right? Like no, Um, so she became more and more alert. We were traveling. We were still traveling back and forth, but while we're traveling back and forth, there was talks of hospice. And excuse my ignorance at the time, I did not know what hospice consisted of. I didn't know what it entailed. Um, I'm just like, so hospice. People survive hospice, right? Um, they come out of it, right? And I don't know if it's because they were trying to protect me or ignoring me because everything that was going on, but I never got an answer. So I'm just thinking like, okay, because my grandmother, she's conscious, she's sitting up, she's talking, laughing, and I'm just like, this can't possibly be the end, right? So, all in all, she did beat the 24 to 48 hours time span that they gave her. So I'm just, again, I'm thinking we're good. So we're traveling back and forth. By this time, it was October. My senior year of high school was that year. So, of course, around October, what happens? Like homecoming, all the senior things. I didn't really want to be a part of any of it. Um, but this one particular day, I just felt so sick. And unknowingly, I had like all black on. Like, it was crazy. I went to school. Everybody's like, "Laura, you don't look good. You okay?" And I'm just like, "No, I don't feel good." So I ended up leaving school to go get medicine. Came back because I was also in dual enrollment during my senior year. So I went and got some medicine right before we went to this university. And I'm just like, I just don't feel well. So I, end up emailing my professors, and I just like sat in a media center or something. And just did homework because again I'm just traveling back and forth. I'm trying to make sure I keep up. And went home. I sat on the couch. My mom like walked in, and she's like crying, and she's like, this was coming. Well, I knew this was coming, and she told me like my grandmother transitioned. I was so emotionally unemotional. Like, I don't know, because I was already struggling with emotions already. But I was just in disbelief. And of course, I'm just like, Lord, what? God, what? You know, um, and of course, like, we went to church like later that day too. But, well, later that night for, I don't know, service. But anywho, yeah, I wasn't present at all. I wasn't there. So, which brought me to 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and we got the same call regarding my uncle. My uncle was literally in a hospital from like the summer to November, and got that call for that saying that there was nothing else they could do. And all I'm just thinking, like, I am about to graduate with my bachelor's. Yeah, because I ended up going back to finish what I started. And I'm like, I finally graduated my bachelor's. And I'm like, here we are again, during another celebratory time. And my uncle. And again, if anybody knows me and knows the relationship I have with my uncle, he was he was my father. My uncle, that was my guy. Okay? So, of course, I'm like, I could have just been, not could have, like, I was triggered for a second. But at the same time, this time, I was able to give God my emotions. Because I started, I learned to even have emotions. And because of the relationship I built with God, I was able to talk with God through my triggers, through my emotions during that time. And I just remember us driving to Cleveland because that's where he was moved to. Because we're just trying to figure out, see who can help him, what can we do. So we were traveling to go say our goodbyes. I can just, the entire time I was just praying, thanking God that the time he allowed me to have with him was almost nearly 32 years. Just, over and over just saying like, it is well with my soul. It is well with my soul. Because my uncle put up an amazing fight for years. For years. So, he ended up transitioning November of 22. I sat with him along with my aunt, and till he, took his last breath. So, here we are in 2024. This past May. Another celebratory time was about to come up. And I could have definitely been triggered. And I could have allowed my trigger to keep me from staying present. I could have allowed my trigger from not allowing me to celebrate me for finishing my master's. I could have allowed my trigger to think about the what if, and because of what happened previously, of this, something else can happen now. But I didn't. Because again, I allowed God to be there. I allowed God to take on whatever I felt. I gave it to him willingly. And he gave me peace back. And I was allowed to stay in a moment. I gave myself permission to be present, to not miss anything in that moment. Because I could have been triggered and said, oh, what's going to happen? I'm about to graduate. What's going to happen? But I didn't. I was just like, all right, graduation. Yes, I did it. I finally did it. I'm done. I allowed and gave myself permission to be in that moment because I allowed God to take that load off me. Because in 1 Peter 5:7, it says for us to cast all of our anxiety onto him because he cares for us. But also in Psalms 94:19 says, when anxiety was great within me, your consolation brought me joy. And that's why I had joy during those moments. I even had joy when my uncle was transitioning because he fought a good fight. And I thought about the great moments. But even in Philippians 4, 6 through 7, which is one of my favorite scriptures, it just tells us to not be anxious about anything. And that's what I was. I wasn't anxious of what could happen, or so we can and need to talk things out with God because he understands us and will give us the best path to take. And sometimes it's always easier said than done. But always remember, if we can do it alone, we wouldn't need God. So I encourage you, whatever triggered you or triggers that you may have, or even when a trigger may come up, talk to God through it. I love y'all.